What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of Believe in Oregon podcast. I'm Zachary, Neel, my co-host over there, Jonathan Stewart. Jay Stu, what's up, man? How we doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a busy week. We're in the full swing of the football season, as I know you
Yeah,
are too. So it's a lot going on, but we're having fun.
a lot of writing.
A lot of writing, man, and practice and interviews and podcasts, and yeah, it's being
Someone's got to do the job. I had a coach that always said, "You're just the man for the job."
yeah,
Someone,
absolutely.
yeah,
But I know, as you know too, trying to be a husband and a family man, and my wife is due with our second child in about 2 weeks now, so we're like officially on baby watch. So
yeah. Second,
it's a
second
lot.
baby usually happens a little quicker too.
Exactly. And her first labor was, I feel like she's okay with me saying this on the podcast, was really quick. And so
Okay,
they told us like, hey, when that second one starts coming, you better get here quick because it's
yeah,
gonna come fast.
yeah. We better be prepared. Well, I guess you really can't be prepared. There's no
You
such
can't.
thing as that. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
When everyone asks, like, "Are you prepared? Are you ready?"
Yeah.
The answer is no.
No, we're getting our hospital go bags ready though, and we're being as prepared as possible. We're
Yeah,
ready to leave the door as soon as we can. So, yeah, it's fun. But we're here to talk about football, and football's been exciting and interesting over the past few days. There's a lot to
yeah,
talk about. We're going to get into a lot of that here, but first, I want to start out by asking everyone to stop what they're doing right now and go into the podcast app that you're listening to this to and subscribe to the show, rate, review. All of that helps us grow our audience exponentially. Thank you all who tuned into the live stream on Sunday morning, bright and early out here on the West Coast. We had some concerns about doing it at 6:30 a.m. in Eugene, but we had over 800 viewers on that, and I feel
yeah,
really good about all the people that listened to the podcast, watched it. It was awesome to see. So, thank you all again for doing that. We will have kind of another conundrum this weekend because the Oregon game is at 7 p.m. in
yeah,
Eugene, so 10 p.m. your time. So, and then we'll have NFL on Sunday. So I'm not really sure when we're going to record that post game show, but we'll have to figure that out.
yeah. We'll figure it out. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. All right, I want to update you a little bit before we dive in on just a couple of notes from practice, notes from Dan Lanning's press conference last night. The most major note, I think, is that we got a positive injury update on Matthew Bedford, the right guard.
Yeah,
Lanning was asked if he felt optimistic about Bedford being able to play in week 2 against Boise State, and he simply said, "Yes, I do." So I don't know that we will see him start for sure. We saw him in practice today. He was practicing. He did not go through like the reps against the defense in the 15 to 20 minutes of practice that we did see, but he was out there and suited up. So we have a little bit of confidence that he can be back this week, which I think would be great for the offensive line.
yeah. And with that, I mean, obviously, we talked about this on Sunday as far as guys being injured, and just the shuffle that had to happen at the offensive line. The truth of the matter is, knocking on wood, that there's no serious injuries. Guys get nicked up and banged up, and there's just going to be shuffling throughout a season, and
Mhm.
that's just going to happen every year. No offensive line just makes it, without any changes throughout an entire season. That's the reason why you have the depth that you have. What Oregon's going to have to figure out, Bedford or not, you got to figure out some type of shuffle that makes sense,
Mhm.
right? Because obviously this was done because you got your guy going down in fall camp and you're not expecting it, and so you go through the practice and you don't really know until the live bullets are flying around,
Yeah.
and that's what we saw. For the first time, this unit working together with live bullets coming at you and have a vengeance, right? Because you know, you have a FCS school is playing number 3 Oregon in the nation. You don't think they're going to come ready to play?
Mhm.
This is a opportunity for them to showcase their skills, their skill set. I'm pretty sure their coach in that locker room saying, "Hey, no matter what, lay it out all on the line. The nation's watching you." And so that's what Oregon got out of that game because as we know, it wasn't the showing that we were expecting, right? And I think there's as much as we want to say that, Oregon is stacked in a lot of these areas, but the bottom line is football games are won in the trenches, and we didn't win in the trenches on Saturday.
Mhm. One other thing that I love to see, this is just like a minor note from practice, but when we walked out, we saw when they were walking out after practice, we saw offensive line coach Alik Terry. He was wearing this black t-shirt, and on the t-shirt said 2.9 YPC dash Idaho.
Heck
And it's
yeah.
like, okay, he's letting
Yeah.
his guys know that
That's
this
good. I
is
love.
not acceptable.
All right. So listen, if you're an Oregon fan, come here. Listen. Come listen. Come closer. The offensive line coach, he gets it.
Yeah.
He's taking accountability, and he's showing the team that the offensive line needs to take accountability. I love the call out there. Like, hey, I'm just gonna wear a shirt. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
give you a challenge.
Just putting it out there.
Because at the end of the day, man, it's all about competition. These guys have to feed off each other. And when you lose, when you not, I mean, you didn't lose the game. It feels like it, but when
Mhm.
you have 2.9 yards per carry, that doesn't get you anywhere. Not even little league,
It's
right?
nothing. Yeah.
So it's nothing. You have to be able to run the ball. Um, and a little bit of that number goes to the sacks and whatnot, but like it still counts because you're supposed to protect the
Mhm.
ball carrier. And whoever has the ball, the quarterback, receiver, running back, your mama, uncle, grandma, whoever has the ball, you got to protect it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, for our first segment today, I'm calling this "Take and Bake." I think that's going to be our first segment on Tuesdays. We've let our thoughts sit for a couple of days since the game, and we had a chance to kind of, let these takes settle and bake, if you will, and kind of see how our thoughts on them have changed. How have our opinions changed? What's our general outlook? What's the thing we're like kind of most concerned about? What's the thing we're most positive about? So yeah, we're calling this take and bake just to see how things have changed over the last few days. Can I start? I feel like I have something that I really need to get off my chest and go on a rant a little
Do
bit
it,
about
man.
here.
Go on a rant.
All
Rant
right.
away.
I think I'm gonna rant here a little bit. Here's the take that I've been baking, and I felt this way a little bit on Sunday when we talked, and I feel even more strongly about it right now. Everyone needs to just calm the hell down. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it looked bad. Yes, there are things to clean up. Yes, there are major questions. But for once, can we just exercise a little bit of patience, please? There were high expectations coming in, as high as they've ever been for Oregon. And yes, there was a disappointment in week 1 for sure. That does not mean the season's over. That does not mean you need to blow it up. It doesn't mean that coaches need to be fired. I was going at it with some people on Twitter today that were saying, I don't know, you should question whether Alik Terry should be keeping his job right now. What the hell are we talking about? This was a Joe Moore Award finalist line last year. And
Yeah.
after one game, yeah, they didn't look good. They looked really bad. But you don't fire a coach after one game. There are no excuses for how bad they looked. There are reasons. I think there's a big difference. And those reasons, I believe, are being addressed. This is just, it's bugged me so much over the last couple of days that this is the time of year every single year, like clockwork, that I'm just kind of reminded that there's so many college football fans that I absolutely hate because
Yeah.
like the way that they jump to conclusions and the lack of patience is so frustrating. Some Oregon fans, they spent all offseason adoring Dan Lanning and being mad that he was so underrated and celebrating the offseason national championship that Oregon gets every year and takes so seriously. But then after one game, it doesn't go their way and they're ready to fire Dan Lanning. It's just like, can we please take a minute, get off the internet for a day, go outside, touch grass, go exercise some patience. You know, if the Ducks look
Woosah.
exactly, if the Ducks look bad again this week against Boise State, yes, be concerned. I will join you in some of that concern. Okay, but for right now, man, just freaking relax. It's one game. They're working on it. It's the first game of the year. You got a lot of transfers in there. Just take a breath. Let them kind of feel out the start of the season. It's a long year, man. Just because they didn't look like the national championship contenders in week 1 does not mean the season's over. Okay, end rant.
Well said.
Thank you.
I
I've
think you
That's been
covered
on
it.
my chest for the past 48 hours. That's just some of these fans drive me insane.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you have to realize too is since entering the Big Ten, we probably got some bandwagon fans, to
It's
be
true.
honest.
It's very true.
Some people that haven't even picked up a Oregon logo in years,
Mhm.
right? So they're just now tuning back into the show.
Yeah.
And so we have to, be patient. If we want them to be patient, let's show our own patience and
Mhm.
and just weather the storm or the drizzle.
Totally.
Let's weather the drizzle.
I
That's all
like
it
it.
was, and um, these guys want to win and want to win the right way,
Mhm,
and I believe the leadership in this coaching staff led by Dan Lanning, he's disappointed, and
mhm,
I mean obviously you see it in his press conferences, um, and the offensive line coach coming out today, 2.9 yards per carry, like that's a to me that shows you know awareness, and a bit of a social responsibility too, right?
mhm.
Like, hey, let's keep it light. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna like blast y'all, you know what I'm saying? But
I am gonna
this is
let you know.
this is the message,
Yeah.
and everyone here, the media, like if there's a picture of me online, people are
Mhm,
gonna know that this is not the standard,
mhm.
and that's what we are riding behind. We're riding behind the fact that we have a coaching staff that's leading these young men, um, with the standard of excellence, and so I'm not worried at one bit,
Mm.
going into Boise, and you know to a certain extent, I'm kind of glad that this happened,
I'm right
right?
there with you.
If something like going from number three, AP, college football rankings, we were number three last year. Now or last week, now we're ranked number seven.
Mhm.
All right, cool, whatever. It doesn't even matter if
Yeah.
you're an Oregon Duck football player. Do not worry about what you're ranked right now.
Mhm,
All that matters is that you go out there and whoop tail and play ball. Worry about what you can control what you can control, right?
mhm,
You can't control every part of the game. You can't control what people think. You can't control what the coaches are calling. The only thing you can be ready for is when your number is called and it's dialed in, you got to go out there and perform.
yeah.
And so that's what if I'm a part of that locker room, and I'm one of the veteran, leadership on that squad, that's what I'm telling the younger guys. Hey, don't worry about last game. Let's get our minds right on what we
Mhm,
got to do and what we know what we can do.
mhm,
Offensive line, block. That's what you're here for. You're not here for anything else. You're not here to look good. You're here to eat, condition, get good grades, and
Pancakes.
block.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? And block well and do it in a way that, is we're on the same page,
Mhm,
the zone blocking schemes. Look, you're supposed to help the guy next to you, but you're also supposed to let him do his job.
mhm.
Get to the next level, please. Get to the
Yep.
next level.
Alright, do you have any, a take and bake for me?
I mean, you really covered it. I mean,
I kinda went off on that one.
you
Yeah, my
did.
bad.
But I will say though, my take and bake here, um, was initially it's never as bad as it seems, and
Mhm,
it's never as good as it seems either.
mhm.
You turn on the tape, it all lines up. We just don't finish. We didn't finish any drive, and it kind of goes to the sentiment of why we weren't finishing drives. And it starts in the trenches. You got to finish blocks. You got to
Yeah.
finish the job. You are playing from snap to whistle every single play. You cannot take a play off. You can't expect the guy to just get there and make the play for you. You got to be the one making the play that is made for you, that's in front of you. Do the things that are in front of you and do them well. Be where your feet are at all times. Uh, and I think just defensively, we were very stout.
Mhm,
We got two interceptions. And I mean, we probably could have had more if we really kind of laid out for certain plays and certain drives. Um, but just remain stout.
mhm.
Um, and just eliminate these penalties, man. I think this goes for you can be you can be the Super Bowl contenders if it's Kansas City Chiefs
Mhm,
all of a sudden, get to, playoffs and they don't finish drives and they don't get any turnovers and they just jump off sides and all these types of things, silly penalties, the best team is going to lose.
mhm,
It just goes back down to the formalities of basics in
mhm.
football. You
Yeah.
just have to make sure you control the controllables, and everything will take care of itself.
Let's switch gears to Boise State now and put, just like we think the Ducks need to do, let's put that week one behind us.
Yeah,
What matters is going forward. So let's switch gears to Boise State. They beat Georgia Southern 56-45 in week one. The offense looked really good. The defense looked like exactly the defense I want Oregon's offense to play this week to get back on track
yeah,
because
yeah,
giving up 45 points to Georgia Southern, man. But let's talk specifically about their running back, Ashton Jinty. He had 20 rushes for 267 yards and 6 touchdowns in week one. He just outstanding game from him. He looks like an incredible back. We talked to Dan Lanning last night about him. He said this is the best running back I've seen since being at Oregon. So I just wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you know the running back position as well as anyone. What do you see from him that makes him so special, and what is it that Oregon kind of needs to be keying on in order to stop him?
Ashton is basically a NFL ready running back.
Hmm.
Just gonna put it that way. I mean, he's a top 10 running back coming into this year for the draft if he wanted to enter it, right? Um, you know, he reminds me of Kenneth Walker, uh, Seattle Seahawks running back. Low center gravity, um, has a really good feel for running in between the tackles, finding the lanes, great vision. Even though sometimes I think his anticipation, and some guys, have it, and sometimes guys figure it out. The slow to run through method when you're a
Hmm.
running back, right? Setting your blocks up, right? Depending on what the play is, you got to be able to like take it easy as you get the carry to set certain things up, and I think he can do a little bit better job of that. But other than that, man, he's a fantastic running back. Great vision, quick acceleration. The stop and go is there. I mean, when he catches a ball in the flat and there's a guy right on top of him, his ability to sit there and then take off,
Hmm.
you know, and then have a straight arm ready to, to deliver a blow. Understands how to utilize his hands, his arms, his body to escape defenders. That's amazing. It's an amazing attribute of his. Um, Ability to outrun guys.
Hmm.
You see that I saw some clips from last year because I didn't really pay attention to him until last year until we had to play him now. But I mean, this guy is absolutely incredible in between the tackles, runs downhill, the power offense. I mean, really, any offense that he gets to play in the NFL, he'll be successful just because of the way um, he runs, low center gravity, the stop and go, breaking tackles. He's aggressive. He's effective in the passing game. Um, so this is going to be a guy that Oregon has to have all eyes, all hands on deck for because he's the type of player that can be a game changer.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
clearly he was that when, this team needed him the most this past weekend. And so, um, hands on deck for this guy.
I'm really excited to see how Oregon does against him because yeah, we left. I mean, we talked on Sunday. We felt really good about this defense against Idaho, but it was against Idaho, and they don't
Yeah.
really have many game breakers on offense that really scared you. So I'm just curious to see how the Ducks shut him down because yes, on paper, Oregon has a defense that should be able to handle this and take care of this matchup, but let's see what it looks like on the field. I'm excited to see what they're actually able to do with him. Let's talk about gambling corner real quick. How are you going to bet this game? All of these odds come from our sponsor Bet Online. It's right now, last I checked before the podcast, Oregon minus 19 and a half. Oregon, the money line is, minus 1,000. Boise State's money line is plus 675. I don't think you're touching either of those. Then the over 161. Over under 61. So how would you bet this? I mean, that minus 19 and a half number. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason why I feel good about it is because Boise State was giving up um they was giving up points. They like
45 to points to Georgia Southern.
yeah, I mean, You can't really. You got to take advantage of that. I mean, there's
Mhm.
something there on film that if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm going through and basically saying, okay, this is what they suck at, and this is how I'm going to exploit them. So we got to be able to put at least. I'm looking at this game and saying, hey, look, we got to put 50 up on these guys. Georgia Southern, if Georgia Southern put up this many points on them, we must come out here and perform and put some points up on these guys. Um, and then on the flip side, we have to stop these guys. I mean, if all they can really do is run the ball, then stop the run.
Mhm.
Period. And one thing I know, if you're on the defensive side of the ball, one way to really slow a good runner down is go for the ball. When
Mhm.
he's in traffic, when he's, in piles, strip the ball. Last year, Ashton had 5 fumbles last year. And
Mhm.
so unless he worked on it all off season,
Yeah. It's
I'm going
vulnerable.
for that ball. He's vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's probably his only weak game from only weak part in his game from last year.
Yeah.
So go for the weaknesses in their offense, exploit it, find it out on film, and just basically exploit it.
Yeah, if I'm looking at these numbers, I agree with you. I think I feel pretty confident that Oregon minus 19.5 number. I just, like I said in my take and bake, I'm just exercising some patience here and keeping the faith that this is a really good team. I think they can beat Boise State by 3 scores. I think they can go out there. We're going to get into score predictions in a bit. I think they can, finally get out, let their offense cook a little bit against this defense that hasn't shown much, in week one. At least I know it's a small sample size, but and then I
Yeah.
I I want to trust the defense that they can be as good as they were against Idaho and do that against Boise State. They may give up a couple points, a couple touchdowns, with a player as good as Ashton Genty. It's not fair to ask them to keep them scoreless, but I just think this is going to be a get right chance for this offense, and they're going to be able to put some points on the board.
Yeah. I totally agree.
All right, let's get into this last segment. I'm calling prediction and wishes. Let's start out with some wishes. What are two things that you want to see out of this team in week 2? And this can be things that we saw them do in week 1 that we want to see them do again, or something we didn't see in week 1 that we need to see going forward. Start out with one thing. What's one wish that you have for this team?
I want to see at least 5 explosive plays.
Okay, that's right where I was
Five
going to go as
explosive
well.
explosive plays, meaning 20 yards or more, um, where we're lighting these guys up like we should have in the first
Mhm.
game. Um, and saying that, that's basically covering a lot of the things that they, didn't show up to do in the first game. So
Yeah. Okay, one that I want to see at least 4 sacks again. They had 4 sacks last game. I just want to see this defensive line continue to eat. We know that's a strength on the team. These young edge rushers. I just want to see them continue to get after the quarterback. Because if you can develop yourself early on in the season as a nasty pass rushing team, it's going to carry you a lot of the way. And if you can win a lot of games on the back of your defense, we saw Michigan do it all the way to a national championship last year. That offense was solid. It was decent, but that defense was really one of the best in the nation. So that's what I want to see from this defense. All right, what's one more
yeah,
you got for me?
I want to see Jay Harris. Not gonna lie,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would like to see him.
I just wanna see him, yeah, see what he does.
Just want to see what he does.
That's all we're
And
asking.
partly because Jordan James, he had 15 carries.
Mhm,
I want to see Jay Harris get some of those carries, or give Jordan James some more carries. And the reason why I'm saying this, not to go against Noah Whittington, he's
mhm,
a great player. As far as what we're trying to achieve here at the line of scrimmage, is some physical play. I want to
yeah,
see some physicality. And if you're taking Jordan James out of the game, I want to still see some physicality. I want to see some bruising. I want to see Jay Harris come in there and spell my guy Jordan James if he's tired from breaking a long one. I want to see
mhm,
him come in there and just continue to blow. So
yeah,
it's that type of game that I want to see from Oregon when they play Boise State. If 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 we don't light it up and score 60 points,
Mhm.
but we see guys laying on their backs. That's a win for me.
Yeah.
Physicality.
We didn't talk about this Sunday, but going through some of the stats, I believe it was yesterday, I realized that, one of our biggest questions was how are they gonna split up this running back room? What's the carries gonna be like? Jordan James and Noah Whittington both played 46 snaps apiece, and Jordan James had 15 carries while Whittington had 14 carries. So
Oh,
it
that's
is
a
a
pretty balance.
pretty even split right now. I'll be
Yeah.
curious to see if that continues going forward. One last wish I have. This is kind of the opposite of what you said, but I want this defense to allow less than 100 yards rushing total. They allowed 49 against Idaho. Obviously, that's not even close to as good as Boise State is running the ball, but I just want to see them shut down Ashton Genty and just have that be a dominant part of their defense.
Mhm.
I think that'd be good to see. All right, time for some quick predictions before we get out of here. Give me one bold prediction for Oregon versus Boise State.
Bold prediction. Jordan James will have more yards than the top 10 running back in the nation.
Wow. Okay.
Ashton Genty.
Yeah. That's a good one, man. That's actually a really good one. I wonder what,
Come
like,
on,
the
Jordan
betting
James. Let's
line
do this, dog. Let's get this money, dog.
what would the betting line on that be? I think Genty would definitely be favored in that.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, my bold prediction, this one's may sound a little bit bold based on what we saw last week, but I'm willing to stand behind it. Oregon doesn't give up a sack. No sacks this game. They
I
gave
like
up
that.
3 last game. They're not gonna do it again. They're gonna
I would
buckle
like to
down.
I would like to see Dylan Gabriel escape the pocket when
Yeah.
that happens. When
See,
he's
all
getting
right.
pressured.
I had a segment about this earlier, but you've got a hard out in 5 minutes, so I skipped it, but I think we've got a little bit of time
Yeah, we got
to
time.
talk
I
about it. We
got
got a
time
few
for it.
minutes. Let's have a conversation about Dylan Gabriel and his running because he had no rushing attempts last week, which, if you look at his stats, goes contrary to what he's done in the past. I mean, in 2023, he averaged per game 7 rushes for 30 yards. He had 12 touchdowns on the year, 12 rushing touchdowns on the year. 2022, he averaged 7 rushes for 26 yards. 2020 averaged 7 rushes for 16 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. He's a running quarterback. I mean, he doesn't get out. He's not Jaden Daniels or some of these massive like Kyler Murray. He's not going to run 20 times, but he's just someone that can get out of the pocket and use his legs. And
Yeah.
he didn't in week 1. I'm curious, does it concern you at all? From what we've seen, at least that this is part of his game, it's kind of been taken away. What do you think about that?
No, I don't think it's something to be uh like disturbed
Okay.
about. I think again, that first game, you have to look at it as a little bit of a working out the kinks,
Mhm,
right? And going into that game, they're all probably thinking, "Oh, we're gonna beat these guys,"
mhm.
and a little bit lackluster. But you're still kind of your mindset was probably, "Okay, I'm gonna see how my pocket feels in this
Mhm,
game. I want to see how it feels to step into throws and just stay in the pocket." I mean,
mhm.
maybe that was his thing. I don't know, but
Challenged himself to do
challenge
that, yeah.
himself a little bit.
Mhm,
We know it's there. I'm not worried about whether or not he's able to escape guys. He's done it for his whole career.
mhm.
Last year, he had 400 yards plus rushing. So
Yeah,
I'm not worried about it. I would like to see it this game if it
yeah,
happens.
yeah. I just think back to, Bo Nix in 2022. He averaged 8 rushes per game with 40 yards per game and 14 rushing touchdowns. He had an
Yeah.
incredible rushing season, but he also got hurt at the end of the year, and so he came back in
Hmm.
2023, cut that in half. He averaged 4 rushes per game and only had 6
Yeah.
rushing touchdowns. So I'm just curious how much of the game plan that is to have Dylan Gabriel not rush as much. But again, 1 game sample size, not even close to enough to say, hey, he's not going to run anymore. So you're right.
Yeah.
We'll see this weekend.
And when we talk about RPOs, I mean, if you give the defense any, um, you know, hint that you will keep the ball and run,
Yeah.
that will help the yards per carry for sure.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out, do you have a final score prediction for me for this game?
Final score prediction will be 63 to 18.
63-18. That'd be fun. All right. So you're
Yeah.
taking Oregon and the over with that prediction.
Yeah.
You think Oregon
Yes.
covers the over under by themselves?
Yes.
All right. I got Oregon 42, Boise State 13. So I'm taking the under, but Oregon with the points.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Again, go subscribe to the show, rate, review, all that stuff. Help us grow our audience. We are gonna come back at some point this weekend to recap the game, sometime on Sunday, because I'm sure it'll be like 1 in the morning where I am when the game's over, and so Stu will hopefully be fast asleep. So we'll let you guys know on Twitter before we go live and record that. Stu, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, man. Just keep believing. For all the Oregon fans out there frustrated, get over it. It's gonna be okay.
Simple as that. Get over it. All right. You can check out more of my work at duckswire.usatoday.com. Follow me at Zachary C. Neel on Twitter. Follow Stu on Twitter at JonathanStewR1. Make sure to check out the Believe in Panthers podcast and the Stew and Crew podcast. For myself, Zach Neel, for my co-host Jonathan Stewart, we will talk to you guys next week. Until then, take it easy.